You survived a deadly attack by using self-defense. Now you have a second challenge that may be as significant as the first: surviving our defective criminal justice system. I'm going to explain to you just why lawyers insist that you say nothing to police or answer any of their questions. Like the vast majority of Americans, you probably have been brainwashed your entire life into believing that the system is fair and that it somehow works. Our schools like to deliver that defective message, and our entertainment industry has given us thousands of fictional cop shows and films that deliver that propaganda. The reality is our system is awash in wrongful convictions. Judges and juries can only guess their way to verdicts, and frankly, they do a poor job of it. When it comes to firearms and regulation, you have two groups that despise gun rights. There are those that feel that guns are evil and only for killing innocent people. And then there are those staunch pacifists that would willingly lay down for rapists and murderers with a warped sense of duty. The fact is that guns save millions of lives every year without a single shot being fired. You must remember that the triers of fact will use their personal perceptions, ideology, and prejudices about gun rights, deadly force, or use of any force at all against you. The region and political climate where the shooting occurs may obscure the facts, evidence, or even logical reasoning. When you enter the criminal justice system, it is nothing more than a game that I call the Wheel of Misfortune. You're going to lose even if you win. You need to avoid the courtrooms at all cost. I have seen many tragic cases where justifiable force was used and the victim was charged with various felonies anyway. Often, the victim could not afford to post the excessive bail requirements and sat in jail for up to 3 years waiting for their opportunity to be cleared at trial. You can only imagine what would happen to your job, family, possessions, and even sanity after a year or more in some rat hole jail. Only the richest 1% can afford the cost of defense of a murder or manslaughter charge. You will need a defense investigator and lawyer if you are put on trial. Various medical and forensic experts will be added too. You probably will find yourself at the mercy of a public defender and minimal resources. Most defense lawyers are political liberals and hate gun rights and deadly self-defense. Frankly, most lawyers can't understand or appreciate the dynamics of close and armed combat. Most attorneys have got no military or police training beyond what they've seen on television. They really think they understand, but they are often clueless. Unfortunately, too many lawyers think plea agreements for reduced penalties are your only salvation. Many privately retained lawyers will take a retainer intended for a full-blown trial, but will coerce you into a quick plea agreement, and they will keep the change while you rot in jail or even prison. The easiest, cheapest, and fastest way to avoid the Wheel of Misfortune is to do the following. First and foremost is to avoid conflicts and dangerous people wherever you can. Your concealed weapon does not make you taller, stronger, smarter, or even braver. What it does do is give you a fighting chance to survive the unthinkable. Next is to avoid ever calling 911 after a shooting. They record those calls and you will hear every word of them played back on local television and certainly at any trial. You should try to flee the scene whenever possible for your safety. Your attacker may have armed accomplices nearby that may kill you if they get a chance. If you can, seize your attacker's weapons for your own safety and that of the public. Turn them over to your criminal lawyer. He or she will know what to do with them. Unlike our legal obligation to remain at the scene of an automobile accident, rendering aid to the injured and exchanging information, you have no such duty at a self-defense shooting. You have no requirement or duty to call the police or to do anything at all. The Fifth and Sixth Amendments to our Bill of Rights protects you in this situation. When you are safe somewhere, have someone, preferably a lawyer, make the call to 911 for you and turn over any seized weapons. Your lawyer can't be compelled to give police your name. Your lawyer most likely may refuse to do that. If the scene is your home or place of business, fleeing may not be possible. If you must use extreme caution to deal with any accomplices. Again, you must try to get anyone to call the police for you. You could call a neighbor or a passerby and tell them to tell the fire department that a man is on the ground bleeding and needs help. Unless you're a trained physician, you are grossly unqualified to try to pronounce anyone dead. You are to presume that they are always alive. Only when it's absolutely safe should you try to render first aid. If you had to, you could call 911 for medical assistance only. When they begin to ask you questions, give them the address and just tell them to send help. You can say, I can't talk right now because I've got to perform first aid. That'll bring both the cops and the fire department personnel without you answering questions. You need to know that 911 operators are specifically trained to get you to make excited admissions. If you are evasive with them or lie to them, you will be toast in any courtroom. If you make any admissions at all, that will guarantee your arrest. 911 operators are nearly always more pleased to destroy your life than to ever help you. They get rewarded for facilitating an arrest through skillful telephone interrogation. What is likely to happen next is the police will either respond to your location or they'll simply find you. An experienced cop will always appear friendly and ask, "What happened?" Your response should be 4 simple words. "I want a lawyer." That should end any questioning right then and there. You may find yourself handcuffed for the officer's own safety. That does not mean you'll be arrested and charged. You may get more questions like, "Is this your gun? Do you have a CCW license?" Let the officer find those answers without your help. Simply repeat that you want a lawyer. Your instincts and decades of bad perceptions and advice will cause you to try and talk your way to freedom. You can either shut your mouth or face a nightmare that can last for decades. Let a defense lawyer tell you when it's time to say anything beyond your name. I have to tell you that maintaining silence at such a stressful time will take a huge amount of self-discipline. I have even seen lawyers and cops crack under this distress and talk their way right into the wheel of misfortune. Please, do yourself and your lawyer a huge favor. Keep your mouth shut. The homicide detectives will walk you right into what I call the confessional, otherwise known as the interview and interrogation room. Don't dare even enter such a room. Tell them they're wasting their time, and again, that you want a lawyer. Now's the time to politely ask them to either book you or let you go. If you keep your mouth shut, chances are substantially better that you will be sleeping in your own bed that night. Cops need probable cause that a crime occurred and that you are the one that committed it. Without statements from a witness, you, or the thug that you shot, they won't have enough evidence to justify an arrest. That's even if it's your gun at the scene and it has been fired. I've seen firearms trainers give horrible advice to tell police that you are in fear of your life and you've only shot in self-defense. That's nothing less than providing police with a full confession. And now they have the probable cause to arrest you. Those words may come from your mouth, but only in a courtroom at a trial if you find yourself charged with a crime. If we could allow everyone in our prisons to take back what they told police, we'd have perhaps 90% fewer inmates. The police confessionals are most often where suspects hang themselves. They either implicate themselves or get tangled up in a web of lies. What you don't say can't be used against you. And what you can count on is police misquoting anything you tell them. Silence is truly golden. You also need to know that if you don't cooperate with police, that a jury cannot be told you asked for a lawyer instead of answering their questions. If some cop or prosecutor were to let that cat out of the bag in court, a mistrial would be instantly declared. That would unlawfully be using your right to remain silent against you, and therefore that would be illegal. If you can somehow find the strength to follow my advice, you will probably avoid the wheel of misfortune altogether. If you can afford to hire an investigator and a lawyer after a justifiable shooting, it may save most or all of your assets later. I routinely race out to the shooting scenes, interview the witnesses, and look for exculpatory evidence to help my clients. Your lawyer can't do that for you because he'd become a witness and can no longer defend you. Get the best training possible for firearm safety, marksmanship, and the laws and liability that surround the justifiable use of deadly force in the jurisdiction where you live. I want to let you know that if you follow this advice, you do have a chance. My name is Paul Hubel. Thank you for listening.